Hey, this is Hiko Simon. I have not just changed my t-shirt and I'm sitting in exactly the same place about to record another video after the last video. This is a totally different time and place and completely different thing. So don't even imagine that I'm just changing my t-shirt for another video right away, because that would be completely lame. Don't go there. Don't go there. So, video today is another one. Geez, it took me 12 minutes to talk about my year in review. I don't know how I'm going to do this in 5 minutes, but my goal is 5 minutes to talk about everything that happened in Japan in 2014 and everything that I predict is going to happen in 2015. Damn. And we're already 44 seconds down, so let's go through it. The big theme of Japan underpinning everything in the news, and the key thing, if you want to read or understand anything about Japan, it's old versus young, it's demographics, it's how Japan is changing, and it underpins every major important story in Japan. Every bit of the social change, every sort of dynamic, the elections, the politics, the social change, everything. And in terms of that, we've got things, we've got the ban on dancing, which has existed since World War II, but nobody thought to enforce until all of a sudden we reached a point this year where for the first time there are more than 25% of the population is over the age of retirement, 65, and 12.9% of the population is below 15 years old, which is it's the highest number of people over 65 and the lowest number of people under 15 that Japan's ever had, and this is the most extreme case of old versus young in the whole world. We reached that this year. And all of a sudden, the authorities started enforcing archaic laws in ways that they were not intended to shut down nightclubs and on the basis of people dancing. And then they finally then they changed the laws to allow dancing, provided that they're sufficiently lit. And I don't know, I mean, I'm surprised they didn't say that there was enough room for the baby Jesus in between people or something like that. It's crazy. And this is, obviously old people who had the benefit of these laws being ignored all these years, and they're legislating against young people. Other things, all the complaints, increasing complaints about noise from children. I mean, it's literally like a Dickens movie happening. They're enforcing noise ordinances against young people, they tried to shut down all of the countdown parties. They tried to shut down, or any kind of celebration by young people getting together in Shibuya. There was a huge police presence in Shibuya for the countdown this year. The marriage rate is declining because young people are miserable and overworked and they don't feel like they have enough money because they can't get full-time employment. So marriage rates are down, noise, dancing, the whole thing at Zushi Beach about regulating against, people being able to drink or listen to music on the beach, all that sort of stuff. At the same time, it's really interesting that young people are kind of rebelling, and they're losing obviously in terms of demographic population, they're losing in terms of politics and lawmaking and all the traditional kinds of things, but at the same time they're fighting back, for example, black companies that have a reputation for taking young people and working them literally to death or abusing their kind of workers and human rights. The most notable famous one that was getting labeled with this was a restaurant chain called Watami, whose president was actually on the party list for the LDP and is now actually in parliament. The social media campaign against that company, particularly in the light of an employee who died there and the apparent lack of contriteness from the boss, resulted in that company being one of the famous examples of one of the most successful restaurant izakaya chains in Japan. $20 million profit last year, or year before last, to $50 million loss last year. They tried changing their names and changing all their logos so that people wouldn't realize who they were. But straight away, channel, internet, everything all got shut down. They couldn't do anything around it. Sukiya as well was saying, Japanese the boss went out and said young people, they don't want to do 3K, they don't want to do kitanai, kitsui, or kiken work anymore, dangerous, dirty, or tough work anymore. And all the nichanners came back and said, you forgot the 4th K, which is kyuryo ga yasui. You guys are stingy, you don't pay. So young people are fighting back. They're not watching TV, and this is being seen as a problem. They're not smoking. Japan raises the Ministry of Finance, remember, owns Japan Tobacco, the tobacco monopoly, or a majority stake in it. So, the Japanese government's always relied on Japanese people being smokers for funding, for finance and tax. And yet, for the first time ever, now less than 20% of Japanese smoke. Young people don't smoke. It's not cool to smoke anymore. They don't read. They can barely handwrite. They just use, mobile, and they're not even typing on mobile devices now. So there's these kind of huge cultural changes happening within the young population that, in a way, are just avoiding the regulation and the kind of scrutiny of old people. So it's fascinating. You got all that young versus old thing, and that's 5 minutes. And that's my first bullet point. I've got 2 pages. So the other topics this year. Black companies, we've got that. Urban versus country. All the politics are trying to push all the money and all the support back out to the country when all the people are escaping the country into the cities. Help the cities. Help Tokyo. Jeez. Less books, less TV, less smoking. Said all that. Immigration is increasing and getting more friendly very quietly, not as a matter of official policy, but it certainly is happening. Tourism. Japan had 13 million foreign tourists to Japan last year, a record, and rocketing towards the 20 million goal set by Koizumi. And that means this stuff is getting better. Free Wi-Fi, better tourist facilities, more facilities for Muslims and so on to travel in Japan. So lots of good stuff there. Hello Kitty is not a cat. The founder of Hello Kitty came out and said this year that Hello Kitty is not a cat, which blew my mind. That was like an asteroid hitting. Yeah, that was a rough moment reading that. Also, the Hague Convention, Japan acceded to it. I think maybe the year before last, or I don't know if it was 2014 or 2013. But in any case, it was put into action in 2014, and this is a big deal because this means that usually most countries that are members of this treaty, if you have a divorce between someone who lives in America and with a Japanese person. And the Japanese person, typically the mother, to be fair, in most cases it's the mother in these cases that you hear about, at least with Westerners, is in a custody dispute in America. So she thinks, screw this, takes the kids, puts them on an airplane, takes them out of school in the middle of the day, puts them on an airplane back to Japan, where she knows Japanese courts will never give a joint custody order, and she'll be able to have exclusive custody of the kids and never even have to give the father access anymore. Japan acceding to this meant that for the first time, some mothers who had attempted to do this, which is to gain an advantage in a custody dispute by abducting their own parents, kids, they call it parental abduction, the Japanese courts will force the kids back on a plane back to the original country to have the original custody hearing, which he or she might still win, but it tries to stop parents getting an advantage by taking the kids away from the other parent against a court order, for example. 6 cases this year where kids were returned overseas, at least for the proper custody hearings. So that was a good development and some progress. Abenomics, could talk about Abenomics a long time. Not going so well. The inflation thing is happening, but real wages have gone down. Japan is back in recession. They're still spending lots of money in pump priming, but that's been a big thing. The Asahi Retraction of the Comfort Woman article, which was where a soldier back in the 70s said that during World War II on Jeju Island that he was part of a battalion that was set up for the purpose of abducting women to force them into prostitution for the comfort woman trade. And Asahi admitted that this article, which they reprinted like 20 times over the last 20 years, they admitted that they did so over the last 15 years, knowing that article was discredited and the man was a con man who made that story up. The point being to the right wing that, the abduction and coercion was an official policy of the Japanese military. It's not to say it didn't happen. We all know that it happened in Indonesia and places like that. But the idea that the Kono statement included the idea that the Japanese government was responsible, that it carried out coercion. A lot of Japanese said, no, that was never official policy and that's not fair. I think you're kind of splitting hairs, given that it actually happened, whether it was official policy or not. The military is responsible for the actions of the soldiers, even if it's not giving the actual orders, which in itself some people dispute. But in any case, the Asahi Retraction, one, it crushed the Asahi because they knew that this story was a lie, and they kept it up for 10 years before they admitted they knew that it was a lie, which was hugely discrediting to them, and it was also very emboldening for the right-wing press and right-wing politicians in Japan. So, that was a big deal. What else we got? We've got the Obokata scandal, the steps, and you had that guy, the iPS stem cell guy, Nobel Prize winner, stem cell research. All of a sudden, gets all this attention in Japan, and this woman comes in, who's cute and takes all the thunder and limelight away with the step stem cell thing. And as we discover through the year, turns out she's something wrong with her. She's either incompetent or a liar or a con artist. And she successfully managed to deceive Riken, the Japanese Research Institute, and and it ended up being a huge embarrassment, which got wrapped up at the end of the year when they pretty much proved that her results couldn't be duplicated. Huge natural disaster again, as typically happens. I mean, in Japan, 50 people killed by the Ontake volcano eruption in Gifu, Nagano Prefecture on the border. As happens every year. Yokai Watch exploded. Pokemon and Naruto and all those are kind of going off the map because of this new anime, Yokai Watch, they've been wrapped up in. There was the Julien Blanc pickup artist video scandal, which actually, some of the people, a lot of people taking the credit for the statement that we had Jake Adelstein talking about the line that he traced of that. Of course, other people picked it up, like Unrested and so on. To me, I didn't like the rage mob aspect of that particular thing, and that's something else, which is another phenomenon that's becoming more common, but at the same time, yay for the internet getting, bad person, everyone kill them. And that happened, and that got a lot of attention. And, the point I always made with that is that, yep, good on you, internet, for getting a bad guy, but at the same time, is what he's saying or doing really that uncommon or rare? And the unfortunate answer to that is no. As you all know, I was going crazy at the potato shortage and the butter shortages and everything that we had. So that was also the falling yen. The yen is dropping like crazy. And the fact that the election was won easily by Abe because there's no political opposition at the moment. So yes, that is my roundup of events and my predictions for 2015. I actually made a list of predictions here somewhere. Here we go. Got them here. So predictions are, one, there's going to be a new opposition party in 2015. There has to be. I think the Democrats and the Your Party, Japan Restoration Party, is probably going to merge into something new. They have to, because those parties are just a mess. And there's going to be an attempt to form a party that can be a credible opposition to the LDP, but we'll see. As at the moment, there's nothing. But I think the electorate wants it, so they will support a new thing, but not from the Democrats. They have to go. Expect to see more, a real momentum behind preparations for the 2020 Olympics with much more Gaijin friendliness. You're going to see more things like the free Wi-Fi everywhere. They're building whole villages just for studying English. They're going to have more programs to be more welcoming and more convenient for foreign travelers who are going to take advantage of the cheap yen. So Japan's going to be a better and better place to come as a foreigner. Japan is enjoying and will continue to enjoy steadily improved relations with China, which will come to a head in August, which I'll get to in a minute. But at the moment, things are going through. China's decided it's okay. They're going to improve things with Japan. I think they seem to acknowledge that they're stuck with Abe for now, and it's not in their interest to keep, pushing things the other way. Another prediction: the next generation party is gone. Pretty much. The Komeito isn't supportive of changing the constitution. So Abe, although he's got this massive majority in parliament, despite what everyone's been saying, I don't think he's going to change the constitution. I don't think he can. I don't think he'll do that. I predict the constitution will not be changed this year. And I mean in terms of, like amended, not in terms of reinterpretations. What else? There's going to be more tension. No, there's definitely going to be another natural disaster, big natural disaster of some sort. I don't know if it's going to be like a tsunami or a volcano or an earthquake or whatever, but it's guaranteed there's going to be a big natural disaster. There's going to be more and more tension on the young versus old and the demographic theme. So look for that thread in everything that you read out of Japan. And the thing which I mentioned before about August, what's going to happen in August is that Abe has decided he thinks it's a good idea. He doesn't like the Murayama statement on Japan's expression of sorrow and regret for its aggression against other Asian countries in World War II. That was made on the 50th anniversary of the end of World War II. Abe has announced that he's putting together a committee to look at making a new statement for the 70th anniversary that's going to happen in this August. And he's got certainly the mandate and the prerogative that he can do that. The question is whether he'll do that in a way that will really make things better in any way. I'm a little bit worried about how he'll go about that and whether he will undo positive steps that are finally happening with China. My hopes, which I think are probably not going to happen, but we'll see. I hope that the yen stabilizes and goes up a little bit more. but I don't. I think it's going to keep getting cheaper. I hope that wages increase so that people can actually. I hope Abenomics works. I mean, I don't like Abe, but I don't want the economy to be in the crapper. I hope that people will get real pay increases, but again, there's no real sign of that at the moment. I hope that Japan signs the TPP because I don't want to have more butter shortages, but at the rate things are going, I don't see how that's going to happen. And I hope that there's a credible opposition party so we're going to have more interesting politics, but also I don't see that happening. So those are my predictions for 2015. And that was 2014, wrapped up. Japan. Keep watching the news, keep asking me questions, anything you want to know more about or that you want me to go and read up more about. Fascinating place, Japan. It's a good place to know the news about, and it's not covered properly in English media. So I hope you get a little bit more informed, a little bit able to keep up with what's going on so that you can have a more deep experience. And you don't even have to be in Japan to do it now, right? You can just watch stuff like this. You can read the online newspapers. But it means you can really connect better with Japanese people and have a better time when you're here, and that's what this is all about. So thank you for supporting me and following me on this show, Tokyo Tonight in 2014. And a very happy 2015 to you all. And look forward to seeing more of you guys then. Okay, a couple more videos to go. Peace.